Tonight on Y News. The Commission on Appointments rejects confirmation of Secretary Perfecto Yasay to the Department of Foreign Affairs. The House leadership defers the revamp on committee chairmanships following no votes on the death penalty reimposition bill. The Philippine Commission on Women calls for the amendment of the anti-rape law.
The National Food Authority reports a depletion in rice buffer stock, which is now on a critical level. ASEAN delegates begin discussions on the rights and protection of migrant workers in Southeast Asia. And Fukushima residents torn about returning 6 years after the March 11, 2011 disaster.
Y News begins now.
UNTV News and Rescue Command Center. This is Y News with Angelo Castro III and Darlene Basingan.
Good evening. President Rodrigo Duterte will have to appoint another cabinet secretary to the Department of Foreign Affairs. Joyce Balancho will tell us why.
After careful deliberations of the foregoing circumstances and upon a unanimous vote of 15 of its members present in a caucus held this morning, this representation as chairman of the Committee on Foreign Affairs hereby moves to reject the ad interim appointment of Attorney Perfecto Rivas Yasay Jr. as Secretary of Foreign Affairs.
Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
The Commission on Appointments, or CA, has rejected Secretary Perfecto Yasay's appointment to the Department of Foreign Affairs. Senator Lacson explains the rejection was due to Yasay's refusal to tell the truth about his American citizenship.
It only shows that the Commission on Appointments will not be a rubber stamp of the Executive Department. No? We all know how close Attorney Yasay is to the President. And it did not deter the Commission from acting independently.
Before the voting, Yasay admitted going through the naturalization process in the United States and was issued an American passport. However, he insisted he was disqualified to continue on with American citizenship after his preconceived plan to abandon his residency in the United States.
Why can the Honorable Secretary not admit the truth that he was an American citizen when in fact he admitted it to his guesting in a TV station?
I did not lie. I may not have fully disclosed what was required in my answering this question, but this is really normal in a process like this. When you're asked before an august body like this, questions like the one that had been asked of me, you get nervous. You somehow come up with answers that you do not intend. And I apologize for that.
Since Yasay has already been rejected, he cannot be reappointed to the same position following the CA rules. Aside from Yasay, Environment and Natural Resources Secretary Gina Lopez also faced the commission for her ad interim appointment. Two oppositors claim Lopez to be having conflict of interest since she allegedly has relatives who own mining companies.
There's no conflict of interest because I just follow the law, no? There's no MPSA given to my family, and if they break environmental regulations, they'll also have to have penalties.
The basis on her suspension to 75 mining contracts was also questioned by some CA members. They claim that the law only prohibits mining in areas proclaimed and identified as critical watersheds. Lopez insisted that while she is not knowledgeable on the technicalities of the law, her orders were in accordance to her mandate as DENR Secretary.
You get someone with integrity and with a passion to help the country, and my experience is development. So what do you prefer? Someone that knows all the laws or someone that's been able to make a difference and eradicate poverty? Yeah. I've been able to eradicate poverty in some areas. Now, what's more important? That I know all the books?
Since only 2 of the 23 oppositors were heard during today's hearing, the Commission on Appointments will continue tomorrow its deliberations on the confirmation of DNR Secretary Gina Lopez. Joyce Balancho, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
Meanwhile, Malacanang reveals that President Rodrigo Duterte will be appointing an acting Foreign Affairs Secretary. Presidential spokesperson Ernesto Abella says Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea will be meeting the Foreign Affairs Department tomorrow morning, and an announcement will come after. The Office of the Executive Secretary will communicate with the Department of Foreign Affairs by 8 a.m. tomorrow, March 9, 2017. An announcement will be forthwith.
House leadership has postponed its plan of immediately reorganizing the committee chairmanships of members of the House Majority Coalition who did not vote for the death penalty reimposition bill. Though the revamp is set to push through, House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez says they're leaving the decision to the Majority Leader Congressman Rudy Fariñas.
Nakipag-usap ako sa kanya na ako na lang ang mag-hunt. Ako majority leader, di ba? So si minority leader, bahala rin siya sa minority.
Among those who couldn't lose a committee chairmanship is a former President and now Pampanga Representative Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, being the Deputy Speaker, as well as some members of the Makabayan Bloc and the Liberal Party. The Philippine Commission on Women calls for the amendment of the anti-rape law. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
28 women experience sexual assault every day, according to the data of the Philippine Statistics Authority. The data is based on the report of the Philippine National Police, which shows an increase in the number of rape cases from 4,700 in 2012 to 10,000 in 2015. This prompted the Philippine Commission on Women, or PCW, to push for the amendment of the anti-rape law. In particular, the group wants rape to be also defined as a case of lack of consent.
Kasi we've seen a lot of cases of date rape where the rapists have been acquitted. So ang definition dapat, pag nagsabi ang babaeng no, no yon. At hindi na kailangan hanapin na tumakbo siya o napunit siya or may dugo, ganyan, yung struggle. No? Because usually when that happens, the women just freeze and just don't know what to do. So that should be the center of rape.
The group also calls on Congress to impose heavier punishment to those who will sexually assault minors.
The rapist gets higher penalties if he rapes a 12-year-old. Okay. Now, if he rapes a 15-year-old, he should be also getting a higher penalty because below 16 is still a child. So we want to raise the age of discernment, bale. That's the following. Yeah, it follows the age of discernment.
Meanwhile, the PCW noted that the women's group are in favor of imposing reclusion perpetua to those found guilty of rape. However, the group has yet to release its stand on the reimposition of death penalty on rape cases.
But as of now, among the women's groups, there are still those that the best punishment would be reclusion perpetua. So forever, the person that committed rape will suffer, instead of immediately snapping back.
Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Bayan Muna Representative Carlos Zarate is dismayed by the decision of the Ombudsman over the controversial Disbursement Acceleration Program, or DAP. Monokson will tell us why.
Based on the decision of the Ombudsman over the Disbursement Acceleration Program, or DAP, released yesterday, former Department of Budget and Management Secretary Florencio Abad was the only one liable for violating Article 239, or usurpation of legislative powers. The decision dismayed Bayan Muna Representative Carlos Zarate, one of the complainants in the case. Zarate is wondering why former President Benigno Aquino is not included in the indictment when, according to Zarate, Aquino was the one who pushed for the implementation of DAP.
Siya mismo ang arkitekto ng Disbursement Acceleration Program, no? Silang dalawa ni Secretary Abad ang talagang pasimuno nito. At kung sasabihin natin na ang ahente ay accountable, bakit hindi yung principal, no?
The ombudsman found Abad guilty of simple misconduct and ordered to fine an amount equaling his 3-month salary. Meanwhile, Abad welcomes the decision of the ombudsman to drop the graft, corruption, and technical malversation case against him. In a statement issued by Abad, he said that he did not benefit from the implementation of DAP and will never use public fund for personal gains. Zarate opposes the statement and maintains that the implementation of DAP was done in bad faith.
Sa tingin namin, may halong bad faith ito. Hindi naman sila mga ordinaryong mga empleyado ng gobyerno. Dati silang mga mambabatas. Alam nila ang papel at role ng Kongreso sa usapin ng budget. At alam din nila ang magiging papel ng ehekutibo sa pag-implementa ng budget.
Zarate's camp will study the decision of the ombudsman before filing a motion for reconsideration to include again the former President Aquino in their complaint. Mon Hocson, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
4 Davao policemen were killed while on their way to respond to a murder incident in Barangay Sibayan. Grace Casin will tell us why.
Authorities are in pursuit of the alleged members of the New People's Army suspected to have killed 4 policemen in an ambush in Davao del Sur this morning. 5 Davao policemen were on their way to respond to a murder incident in Barangay Sibayan when the rebels attacked them. One of them was able to call for help using his mobile phone while in the middle of a gunfire. Reported dead on the spot are PO1 Rolly Benelayo, PO1 Joey Nervaza, PO1 Saro Mangutara, and PO3 Jaden May Rabor, while PO3 Allen Arnado was reported wounded and brought to a nearby hospital. Initial investigation shows that Guerrilla Front 51 of the NPA is operating in Davao del Sur.
We will still establish pero by experience is wala namang ibang gagawa dyan sa mga security forces natin Wala namang ibang may capability na gumawa ng ganyan.
PNP is also investigating Sibayan Barangay Captain Eddie Dikdikan, who sent for the police about the incident.
Yung murder case nangyari the night before, tapos pinag-paumaga na nila kasi medyo madilim sa area. Mukhang may mga namatay nga doon kasi may mga intel operatives na nakapunta sa area na nag-verify doon sa incident.
The police is now investigating the incident. PNP headquarters condoles with the family of the victims and commends the killing of their colleagues.
Nakakalungkot na bakit kailangan pang ambusin nitong mga to.
Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
Authorities are now coordinating with Mrs. Leonila Davis for the filing of necessary charges against members of the New People's Army. Victor Cosare will tell us why.
The Police Regional Office 11 is convinced that members of the New People's Army are liable for kidnapping for not releasing the 14-year-old daughter of Mrs. Leonila Davis. Mrs. Davis says her youngest daughter was convinced to join a protest action in Davao City last January 23 and has not returned to their house in Mati, Davao Oriental after. A rebel returnee told authorities that they tried to escape from the organization during an encounter, but Leonila's daughter got wounded in the leg, so she was taken back by the NPA.
The report na meron nga nag-surrender na isang 17-year-old na NPA member, tago na natin sa pangalan na Jenny. So, upon interview, she told us na meron nga siyang kasama yung anak na ni nanay.
Ilang gundalon kay kun ang ilang istorya decision sa kong anak. Kung ako dong kuhaon ang akong anak ug pilit sila, akong kadlaton sila maghikog daw ang akong anak. Ang gusto sa akong anak na mauli na nagsigidog hilak.
Leonila says she has already tried to talk to some members of the rebel group begging to release her daughter, but her efforts have failed. She says a certain Karaman has custody of her youngest child. Also, a group known as Almasid was the one who convinced her daughter to join the mass action.
Maluoy lang pumunta mo sa kuwaw sa kong anak. Dili pa magbinadiha pwede sa inyo ang ibarugan. Pahit kayo sa kinahan ba? Iuli lang sa kuha ang bata, wak may problema.
Palagay ko that is a case of kidnapping, especially minor. That is a heinous crime. So we can file a criminal case against those perpetrators.
Leonila's daughter is a graduating grade 6 student but may not be able to finish her studies because of the incident. The military says she is being trained to be a medic of the rebel organization. Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Davao City.
Police Chief Director General Ronald De La Rosa has ordered the Internal Affairs Service to draft the decision on the case involving the group of Police Superintendent Marvin Marcos in connection with the killing of Albuera Leyte Mayor Rolando Espinosa. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
The fate of the group of Police Superintendent Marvin Marcos in the hands of the Philippine National Police is expected to be revealed this month. Marcos and his men are facing charges for allegedly killing Mayor Rolando Espinosa Sr. inside the Baybay Sub-Provincial Jail last November 5, 2016. PNP Internal Affairs Service Deputy Inspector General Police Director Leo Angelo, PNP Chief Police Director General Ronald Bato de la Rosa has ordered the police unit to outline their recommendations on the case so he could already sign it.
Yung resolution namin with the recommendation, binigay namin kay Bato. So, parang siya, in agreement siya doon. So, ibinalik niya, kayo na rin ang mag-draft ng decision para pirmahan ko na lang.
Uterio, however, refuses to disclose their decision and says he's leaving it up to De La Rosa to publicly announce it.
The decision of the Chief PNP is final and executory. Immediately after he decides, he can direct his Director for Personnel and Records Management to issue the orders dismissing such personnel from the police service.
The police official clarified that should Marcos and his men are ordered dismissed from services, their benefits will also be forfeited, although they have a pending appeal at the National Police Commission, Civil Service Commission, or even the Supreme Court. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez recommends to the House Committee on Transportation the transfer of international flights outside of Metro Manila. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
The Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines and Manila International Airports Authority admit that the volume of international and domestic operations in airport terminals of Metro Manila continues to increase. This is why construction of new airport terminals has been recommended.
Yung airlines po natin, padami po yung flights nila, especially among the local carriers and the international carriers. They are applying.
Sa laki ng volume ng domestic operations ng Cebu Pacific na nag-ooperate sa Terminal 3, kahit na ilipat natin sa Terminal 1, kahit na yung Terminal 1 gamitin nila, hindi pa rin kakasa, sir.
Based on MIAA's data, domestic passengers reached 20.5 million while international passengers totaled to almost 19 million in 2016. Thus, House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez says the airports in neighboring areas of Metro Manila shall be used. These include Sangli Airport and Clark Airport in Pampanga, where all international flights in Metro Manila should be moved.
Manila operations, mas maganda siguro kung bigyan mo ng importance yung domestic. Kasi pag lumilipad galing probinsya, di ba? Mas gusto mo nandiyan na kagad.
At present, according to CAAP, there are 6 to 7 international carriers in Clark Airport and they continue to have discussions with other airlines. Meanwhile, the Department of Transportation studies the proposal to make Sangli Airport an international hub to ease runway and terminal congestions in Manila airport terminals. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
The management of Panda Coach Tourist Bus Company has appealed to the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board to revoke the suspension order imposed against the entire fleet of their buses. Joan Nano will tell us why.
After the bus accident in Tanay Rizal last February 20, the management of Panda Coach Tourist Transport is now suffering a big income loss. Because of this, Panda Coach has appealed today to the LTFRB to lift the suspension order against their entire fleet for them to recover and earn funds to sustain the financial assistance that they have promised to the victims of the accident in Tanay Rizal.
How can Panda now can provide financial assistance to the victims kung wala naman trabaho ang Panda? Kung ipapaklose mo yung operations. So saan kami ngayon kukuha ng pang-assist lalo na dun sa critically injured na nasa hospital pa?
But LTFRB Chairman Attorney Martin Delgra refuses to grant the said motion after the board has discovered that the model of the bus involved in the accident was already phased out.
The board have to dig deeper kung bakit nagkakadisgrasya yung bus nyo. And as it turned out, if I may say this, short of misrepresentation, iba yung nisubmit ninyo na ORCR, iba yung nadiskubrihan namin na yung bus ay matagal nang phase out. So in order to avoid any further accident, the board deemed it proper na kailangan i-suspend yung entire fleet.
With this decision, the lawyers of Panda Coach is now planning to appeal the issue to the higher court for the suspension order to be lifted. As of today, LTFRB is still studying if there are valid grounds for the suspension or cancellation of the operation of Harana Tours. Meanwhile, the agency has also ordered the SCCI Management and Insurance Agency Corporation to prepare all the necessary documents for the release of the remaining 150,000 pesos assistance for each family of those who were killed in the accident. The full amount of claims in their insurance is expected to be released next week. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Next on Y News. COMELEC sets up special satellite registration for women in line with the celebration of International Women's Day.
Families of overseas Filipino workers affected by the February earthquake in Surigao soon to receive assistance from OWA.
Y News will be right back.
Y News would like to thank
The Commission on Elections opened satellite registration booths today for all women who would like to register for the upcoming village polls in October. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
Specifically today is International Women's Day. Napag-isipan ng COMELEC na magkaroon ng special registration na nakatuon para sa ating mga kababaihan. No? Kami na mismo ang pumupunta sa mga lugar para mas maginhawa, mas maayos ang proseso ng registration at ang proseso na rin ng pagboto.
In line with the celebration of the International Women's Day, the Commission on Elections special satellite registration booths had been available from 8:30 a.m. to 5 in the afternoon today for women aged 15 years old and above who would like to register for the barangay and SK elections. The special satellite registration booths were opened in malls in the National Capital Region and other cities across the country.
Many of them are in hospital sites. Some are also in the malls. As far as Tawi-Tawi, we are registering women and girls in government hospitals. And although they cannot vote in hospitals, we don't have precincts in hospitals. Eventually, we hope that we can expand these initiatives to give more access to women voters.
The COMELEC ordered election officers to create a special satellite registration team composed of an election officer and 4 election assistants that would assist women eligible to register for the polls. Meanwhile, those who have registered in Manila have this to say.
Habang mas maaga pa po, magpa-register na kayo kasi wala pang masyadong siksikan, tapos hindi naman siya gaanong mainit.
Mas maganda yung pumunta kayo sa ganito kasi mas mabilis at saka convenient.
COMELEC opens satellite registrations for the transfer, reactivation, change or correction of information in entries of voters. The poll body also provided supplemental data forms for persons with disabilities, indigenous people, and senior citizens. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
41% of Filipinos believe that women in the Philippines are not disadvantaged based on the latest Pulse Asia survey. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
41% of Filipinos agree that most women in the Philippine society are on equal footing with their male counterparts based on the survey of Pulse Asia. Meanwhile, 33% believes that women are at a disadvantage and 26% is ambivalent about the issue. The survey was conducted through face-to-face interviews with 1,500 respondents nationwide. Among the events that took place before and during the time the survey was taken were the resignation of Vice President Leni Robredo from the cabinet of President Duterte, the decision of the Supreme Court to allow the burial of former President Ferdinand Marcos at the Libingan ng mga Bayani, and the investigation of the Senate and the National Bureau of Investigation on the killing of Albuera Mayor Rolando Espinosa Sr. Meanwhile, President Duterte says women are heroes. This is his message for the celebration of the International Women's Day. He also says the Philippines is fortunate to have outstanding women in various sectors. The Philippines is also recognized in terms of gender equality in the Asia-Pacific region and in the world. The President assures his administration shall strive to maintain this distinction as well as continue to recognize their invaluable contributions to the country. President Duterte is also determined to deliver the promised change for the women, and he trusts that the women are up for the challenge of that change. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas has signed a memorandum of agreement with 12 major banks in the country. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
Major banks in the country have joined in an agreement with Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP to help millions of Filipino youth to save money. The project Banking on Your Future and Kiditin program is a cooperation initiated by BSP together with the Bank Marketing Association of the Philippines and 12 major banks in the country. It targets 12 million Filipino school children aged 12 and below. They are encouraged to open accounts with initial deposits of 100 pesos only. Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas also gives a special authorization to the 12 major banks to conduct bank deposit activities in schools.
Our goal is to raise financially responsible Filipinos, starting with our school children, and to promote good money habits such as saving regularly by providing our youth access to child-friendly deposit accounts and other bank products.
The partnership has also extended the age limit of the bank's kiddie account program to 19 years old. This is to let those who have opened bank accounts to sustain their savings until they graduate from high school. Also, BSP intensifies its partnership with the Department of Education by a proposed integration in the present elementary curriculum lessons on money, money management, saving, and basic economics related to savings. Meanwhile, BSP has accorded teachers and students who have sustained their savings with a Bida sa Pag-iimpok and Pangkabuhayan Award, which DepEd launched in 2014.
I would like to thank and really express our appreciation to the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, which is not only the guardian of our monetary system, but has also expanded its interest to culture and also to the advocacy, the gospel of thrift and of savings.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority will provide free livelihood training programs to its employees and their families to augment their income. Leslie Longboan will tell us why.
It is known to many that the job of Metropolitan Manila Development Authority personnel is not a high-paying job. That's why its management thought of ways to help their employees as well as their families. Earlier today, MMDA General Manager Tomas Orbos signed a memorandum of agreement with a recognized cosmetology school that will provide free seminar in hairdressing and massage therapy.
So napakaganda po niyan considering po na talaga mababa ang sweldo ng ating mga tauhan dito sa MMDA. Ito po yung malaking tulong sa kanila.
Josephine Jonas is one of those who registered to avail the free training, which she says would probably increase her income.
Sahod mo hindi sapat sa'yo. Siyempre, pagka meron ka ng pagkakuhanan, di malaking bagay sa budget sa bahay mo yan, tsaka sa pamilya mo.
The said cosmetology school guarantees that those who will undergo the program will be hired.
Magsisipag lang po sila, they will be earning more than minimum wage. Ang ibang kasamahan po namin, regular hairdresser, nag-earn po ng more than 10 to 15,000.
This project is part of the agency's drive against kotong by augmenting the income of its field personnel. Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Makati City.
Families of overseas Filipino workers affected by the earthquake in Surigao will receive financial aid from the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration. Aga Kakbay will tell us why.
Thank you for this opportunity para maparating natin sa ating mga kaibigan dyan sa Caraga region na merong available assistance from OWA doon sa mga tinamaan ng kalamidad na earthquake. Noong nakaraang buwan yata yun. So kung meron kayo po ay mga OFWs o kaya dependents na mga OFWs, bibigyan po namin kayo ng financial assistance at saka yung mga livelihood projects.
The Overseas Workers Welfare Administration or OWA, together with the Department of Labor and Employment, will soon release the 11.5 billion peso financial aid for families of OFWs affected by the strong earthquake that hit Surigao last February. In accordance to Board Resolution number 006, Series of 2017, the immediate family of an active OWA member will receive 3,000 pesos, while families of inactive OWA member will receive 1,500 pesos each. Eligible claimants may submit their applications for the financial aid at OWA Caraga office. Meanwhile, Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III is opposing the establishment of a separate department for overseas Filipino workers.
Dahil alam mo, ang final goal ng ating Pangulo is to repatriate all our OFWs. Sa makatuwid, the final goal of our government is to get them back. Now, kung maglagay ka ng Department of for OFWs, you are institutionalizing at it might send the wrong signal.
The Secretary believes the government is sufficiently and effectively addressing the concerns of OFWs, therefore establishment of such department is not necessary. Aga Kaakpa, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
The rice buffer stock of the National Food Authority is starting to deplete and is now considered in critical level. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
The National Food Authority announces that its rice buffer stock is now below the required amount in warehouses. Administrator Jason Laureano Aquino said, though the overall rice supply in the country, which totals to 2.617 million metric tons, is still enough. The NFA stock is good enough for 13 days only. Aquino says the NFA Council is still not allowing their government-to-government importation request of 250,000 metric tons of rice, which is part of the approved 500,000 metric tons importation last year.
Pag tinamaan tayo ng bagyo and other calamities, baka wala na kaming may suporta o may bigay sa DSWD, sa NDRMC, and the local government.
The NFA Council says there is no recommendation yet from the National Food Security Council regarding importation of rice. As of today, NFA could not buy rice from local farmers because dealers' price is too high.
Ang buying price natin 17 pesos lang. Sa labas, aabot na 19, 20, 22, even 23. So hindi talaga nagbebenta sana.
The NFA Council is now investigating NFA officials for opposing the extension of private importation through the Minimum Access Volume or MAV. The Council has issued a resolution allowing the extension of MAV importation until March 31. This is to allow the importation of farmers' cooperatives and private businessmen of the remaining MAV of around 250,000 metric tons. But the NFA said it will affect farmers because March is the start of harvest season. The Federation of Free Farmers Cooperative Incorporation said,
kung kulang ang bigas, siguro mangyayari ho yan sa June, July, August. Doon natin papasukin. No? Pero wag ngayon na umaano yung magsasaka.
The apparent misunderstanding between the NFA and NFA Council has reached the attention of President Rodrigo Duterte. Ray Pilayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Delegates of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, gathered and begin discussions on the protection of migrant workers in Southeast Asia. Jun Soria will tell us why.
The 17th Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community, or ASCC Council meeting begins today at the Iloilo City Convention Center. Secretary Judy Taguiwalo led the said meeting together with ASEAN Secretary General Lee Leong Min and ministers and delegates from 10 member ASEAN nations. During the meeting, Secretary Taguiwalo says ASEAN leaders agreed to push for the rights of migrant workers and to create necessary steps to protect them.
In the ASEAN, we have receiving and sending countries. But I think everyone agrees on the necessity that our workers, whether in our countries or abroad, should be provided the protection that they need.
According to the 2015 annual report of the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, or OWA, there are 2,447,000 overseas Filipino workers. More or less, 21,100 of them are working in countries in Southeast and South Central Asia. Secretary Taguiwalo explains that ASEAN's declaration for the protection and promotion of the rights of migrant workers was discussed 10 years ago in Cebu City. Thus, she says there is a need now to prioritize its implementation in Southeast Asia.
We want to have an instrument, essentially it's an implementing rules and regulation that will spell out how this can be done within the ASEAN.
The ASCC aims to recommend ways to achieve an ASEAN community that is people-oriented and socially responsible, which will be recommended for approval of leaders in Southeast Asian countries in November this year. Jun Suriao, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Philippine National Police has released the list of cops who will join the newly formed Philippine Drug Enforcement Group that would conduct anti-illegal drugs operations. Leia Ilagan will tell us why.
The Philippine National Police, or PNP, has given the members of the defunct Anti-Illegal Drugs Group, or AIDG, the chance to be a part of the newly formed Philippine National Police Drug Enforcement Group, or PDEG. However, PNP spokesperson Police Senior Superintendent Junardo Carlos assures that the members of the new police unit are carefully selected. Former AIDG men will serve as PDEG's investigators because of their expertise in the job. Cops from the K9 unit and SWAT will also be part of the PDEG. They will serve as tactical operatives. There are those assigned to conduct counterintelligence to verify the information that will be sent to the unit.
Mayroon pong skeletal force or personnel that will be joining Senior Superintendent Mijares. Right now, yun po yung ginagawa po nila. So they can immediately organize themselves, have the necessary logistical requirements and the office space where they will be staying. And then kung po pwede maka-start sila doon sa mga targets nila.
Carlos says the members of the PDEG are now in the completion and assessment stage, being conducted by an oversight committee which is composed of the members from the command group and concerned directorial staff.
The names will be submitted to the oversight committee at doon po talaga titingnan. So hopefully and I'm very positive that we will have personnel that were there working for the anti-drug campaign and talaga pong dedicated that very professional. We will have those officers po in the PDEG.
Carlos also clarifies PDEG's role, saying it would focus on high-value targets and is required to coordinate with the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency in conducting operations. The police official says the media, barangay official or court representatives are welcome to join the operations, but noting that their safety must be ensured first. Leia Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
Tourist guides in Barangay Layban, Tanay, Rizal have undergone mandatory drug testing. Joe Anano will tell us why.
More than 50 tour guides have undergone the mandatory drug testing in Layban, Tanay, Rizal. Tanay Municipal Anti-Drug Abuse Council Chairman Justado Bakiran says they support the Masa Masid program of President Rodrigo Duterte to ensure the tourist guides in the area are clear of illegal drug use.
Base doon sa memo ng Tanay Tourism Office na ang mga tour guides ng Tanay ay mag-undergo din ng verification of substance abuse para maging capable yung aming mga tour guides doon sa pag-assist ng mga turista doon sa mga tourist destination ng bayan ng Tanay.
Bakiran says they will not accept tourist guides who do not undergo drug testing. According to Barangay Captain Adelina Villanueva, tour guides in their area only started around 20 persons but now they have over 100.
Malaking bagay po at malaking tulong kasi naiwasan na po yung mga pag-uuling, yung mga pagpuputol ng mga puno at kumbaga po talagang natutok sila sa hanap buhay.
The tour guides also agree with the municipality's project to ensure the safety of those who visit their area.
Bilang tour guide, kailangan ma-examine kung talagang physically fit ka bang maging tour guide para maging safe din, kumbaga maging kampante din yung mga guests na darating.
John Nano, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Health experts advise lawmakers to thoroughly study and set safeguards first before legalizing the use of marijuana for medical purposes. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
The House of Representatives is once again pushing to legalize marijuana for medical purposes. Based on House Bill number 180 of Isabela Representative Rodolfo Albano, studies shows that cannabis or marijuana helps control seizures, manage pain and ease effects of arthritis and other ailments. This has also been the thoughts of Dr. George Ignacio of the UP Philippine General Hospital Cancer Research Institute or CRI.
Cannabidiol is the one responsible for the analgesia, anti-seizure, neuroprotective, antioxidant, anti-tumor, antipsychotic, and anti-anxiety effects.
Despite the positive effects, CRI recommends the formulation of clear safeguards in the use of marijuana to avoid its abuse. CRI also recommends the importation of cannabis in the form of medicine.
We can outsource the cannabis oil, which is form of drug recommendable from legally recognized companies abroad.
The Department of Health, however, says studies are still needed to be conducted on whether cannabis is safe and effective to use for medical purposes.
More extensive research or studies on the quality, the safety, and the efficacy of the use of the leaves or the herbal form of marijuana or cannabis.
The bill legalizing marijuana for medical use did not pass in the previous Congress due to several unresolved issues. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
Coming up, Fukushima residents are torn about returning 6 years after the March 11, 2011 disaster.
And giant ape King Kong and Tom Hiddleston get wax figures at Madame Tussauds.
More from Y News after this break. Meanwhile, anti-secrecy group WikiLeaks says it has obtained a secret trove of hacking tools used by the CIA. RJ Alavazo will tell us why.
Anti-secrecy group WikiLeaks said it had obtained a secret trove of hacking tools used by the CIA breaking into or circumvent the security of phones, communication apps, and other devices, and published confidential documents describing those programs. Among the most noteworthy WikiLeaks claims are that the Central Intelligence Agency, in partnership with other U.S. and foreign agencies, has been able to bypass the encryption of popular messaging apps such as WhatsApp, Telegram, and Signal by hacking phones that use Google Inc.'s Android platform to collect audio and message traffic before encryption is applied. The information in what WikiLeaks said were 7,818 web pages with 943 attachments appears to represent the latest in string of breaches in recent year of classified materials from U.S. intelligence agencies. Several contractor and private cybersecurity experts said the materials dated between 2013 and 2016 appeared to be legitimate. RJ Alavazo, UNTV News and Rescue, Hawaii, USA.
NAMI officials are set to lift the evacuation order on March 31 on an area within NAMI that includes the school, but it is unlikely Ukedo will ever reopen. Danny Tixon will tell us why.
The school principal Chieko Oyama, who's currently living in Nihonmatsu City, 2 hours drive away from Nami town in Fukushima, visits to check up on her school and take photos in the hopes of persuading officials to preserve it in its current state instead of mowing it down. Inside the classrooms are clocks that stopped around the time the tsunami hit the school.
私は子どもたちに津波の激しさももちろん強さも怖さもそうですけど、でもなんとか辛いけどこういうことを乗り越えて今があるんだよっていうふうに子どもたちには入ってみてってほしいなって、よく頑張ってきたねって一人一人の子に言いたいと思います。
Nami's 21,542 residents, including Oyama, were given a mandatory evacuation order by the Japanese government due to radiation levels soon after March 2011 disaster. The lifting of the evacuation order will see about 15,294 being allowed to return, but some have already done so.
やる人いなければ、じゃあ俺はもうダメだなと。じゃあもう私らもやめたと。でも現に動いてるところを見れば、じゃあ俺もやってみるかというそういう気持ちが湧いてくると思います。
Despite the scars of the disaster, Nami is showing signs of optimism. In the area where the evacuation order will be lifted, a makeshift food court has been built near the town hall and visitors can enjoy local dishes and buy souvenirs. Nami Town Mayor Tamotsu Baba says in order for the town to survive, a push forward is necessary.
せっかく楢葉町も開場して復興して人もわずかですけど戻りつつある、勝郎さんも開場して戻ってきてる、そういう状況を作ってるわけですからね。でやっぱりこれはそういうふうに方針を決めたということですから、それはやっていかなくちゃならないなっていうふうには思いますよね。
Regardless of the evacuation order lift, there's still a long way to go for Namie. Roads and houses have yet to be fixed, and contaminated dirt in black bags are a common sight. Danny Tigzon, UNTV News and Rescue, Tokyo, Japan.
Hundreds of runners braved Siberian sub-zero temperatures. NBA star Dirk Nowitzki reaches another career milestone. Aga Kakbay will tell us why.
In basketball, Dirk Nowitzki of the Dallas Mavericks reaches another milestone in his career as he scores his 30,000th career point. Ahead of a home game against the LA Lakers, the German-born All-Star was only 20 points away from the mark, reached by only 5 other players in the history of the NBA. After producing a vintage performance with a trademarked fadeaway jumper, the cheering crowd gave him a standing ovation. Nowitzki joins all-time leading scorer Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Karl Malone, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, and Wilt Chamberlain. Meanwhile, about 200 runners from 32 countries brave Siberian sub-zero temperatures to take part in the annual Baikal Ice Marathon.
Ну, это уже традиция, уже как-то вот не хочется пропускать. Так что пока есть силы, буду участвовать в этом забеге.
Yes, very cold today. Yeah, because we're from Hong Kong, they never this red.
The race is internationally known and listed in Irkutsk region's book of records as an achievement that makes Siberians proud of their land. It is also named by media among the most exciting sports activities in the world, thanks to Baikal's unique landscape. Aga Kakbay, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Madame Tussauds recreates Skull Island with wax figures of Tom Hiddleston and King Kong, the largest animatronic figure in company history. Nina Armilio will tell us why.
King Kong invades Times Square. The giant ape is part of a new experience at Madame Tussauds in New York, which was unveiled on Tuesday, along with the first ever wax figure of actor Tom Hiddleston.
He's dressed in a costume from the film. He'll be very recognizable to you once you've seen the film, and really truly fitting for the space itself with its jungle theme and bamboo walls everywhere. I mean, he really fits in. He's clearly here for the right adventure.
Complete with a bamboo jungle and a base camp, the space is a replica Skull Island from the soon-to-be-released film Kong Skull Island. The animatronic King Kong head is the largest Madame Tussauds has ever created, standing 2 stories tall.
Its size and scale is true to the actual mythical Kong himself. If you were standing here, when he roars, because he'll roar, he'll snarl, he'll grunt, his eyes will follow you around the space. But when he roars, it's 90 decibels, which is equal to a Boeing 737 coming in for a landing.
The experience will be open at Madame Tussauds New York indefinitely, and Kong Skull Island will be released in U.S. theaters on March 10. Nina Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Excited for King Kong. But what is Tom Hiddleston famous for?
Thor. Am I right?
Low-key.
Yeah. Is he in Thor?
He's Loki, the brother of Thor.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, 1 point. 1 point.
Okay.
Those are the reasons behind the news, March 8, 2017. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Darlene Basingan.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching Why News.
UNTV, your public service channel.